Good evening. How's everybody doing? It is Monday, family. It is Monday of week number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 weeks that we have been together and got to know each other, bonded as a family, joined a literacy gang. We are out here with our foundation of a love of African American literature, community, culture, and just overall love and support for one another. It's been going strongly over the 9 weeks, and I'm glad to be here with my phenomenal co-host, Mr. Jordan. How are you doing this evening, sir? Doing Virtual Village 2020.
I'm doing exceptional. Got outside a little bit today, enjoying the weather, but it was another great weekend. Glad you made it back home safe and sound. So I'm ready to kick off week 9.
Sounds like a winner to me. So then let's just go ahead and kick it on off.
Look, mommy, community in action, but oh my, let us down to that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too, but oh my, let us down to that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, let us down to that. Look, granny, let us down to that. Look, granny, let us down to that. Learning and exploring my history, you see. Look, mommy, let us down to that. We confident, we practice and develop fluency. Look, daddy, let us down to that. Families, they bond and they representing me. Look, granny, let us down to that. Look, auntie, let us down to that. Nice, I see, let us down to that.
I'm so reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have a sit.
Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, let us down to that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. Well, oh my, let us down to that. Creative, affirming, culture for me too. Look, granny, let us down to that.
Forever love the sound of that. I will forever love the sound of that. A forever shout out to Portia and Peyton for creating that wonderful theme song for our village. I see we have Darren in the house. How are you doing, Darren? Welcome to the village. Great to see you here. We have our precious Shania. How are you doing, Pumpkin? Good to see you. Thank you for the good evening wishes. And then we had an early message from Marcia. She says she loves the work being done through the Virtual Village and Literacy Gang. So that's just some great spirits to kick us off on as we get on through the night, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you about the theme song. It always kicks us off with a great mood. Great people put it together, great voices on it, and I just noticed that more and more people are loving that introduction, the theme song that has been made. And again, if there are others out there that like to be creative in some other ways, they should let us know too. We'd be more than happy to celebrate more creativity from the literacy gang that's out there.
Yes, because it's a what? It's a family affair. And my little Shania says she loves my headscarf. Yes, ma'am. We rock these head wraps, right? I've seen some beautiful regal ones on you. So birds of a feather, right? And then this is going to be very relevant. This comment right here from Miss Clark. She says Mark's sister is listening. As we progress through the night, I'm going to jump back on that. Y'all put a pin in that comment. Mark's sister is listening because you're about to understand exactly what that means, okay? So that takes us on into our first reader of the night, who is no stranger to the literacy gang and no stranger to me, a wonderful dear friend that I made when we were in Flint, Michigan, doing a book delivery there at a wonderful school called Eagles Nest Academy. And I did not know that I was about to make a forever friend. We had a wonderful time, but this lady right here, woo, her passion for our youth, for our community, all of these things, she's such a blessing. And she is an author, and she is about to read one of my absolute favorite, and I feel something, children's books that she wrote, and it is something that is very important. It is one of my absolute favorite children's books overall. And what she wrote about is a very important topic to me. And I think it's something that all of our children need to know about. And with that said, I'm gonna be quiet and let her explain it to us. So let's bring on the lovely Miss Bridget Brown Jackson.
Hey, Star. Hey, Rodney. Good evening.
Hey, Brandon. How you doing?
I am blessed.
Wonderful. We are glad to have you here.
I am glad to be on as always. I love what Clever Communities in Action is doing. You know, you all were talking about me and you make me feel like I'm great, but your name is so fitting. You are a star. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have somebody hiding in the cut?
I do have somebody over here hiding in the cut, my mini me. Her name is Imani Ebony.
Hi, Imani Ebony. Very nice to put a face with that name that I've heard so many wonderful things about. Glad that you're going to be here reading with your mom. You guys are going to be in for a treat with this one. You're going to see, like I said, why Imani is here in particular when you get into this story. And also, we're going to remember the comment that I said, put a pin in. Mark's sister is here. All of this is about to be explained. So just briefly, can you hold up that book cover and tell us what it's about before you dive into it?
It's Panther in the Sky, and it is about a story about a mom and her daughter and the legacy of her uncle who was a Black Panther. And so it is actually a fictional story, but it's based off of true events. My uncle really was a Black Panther. He was assassinated in 1969 at the hands of the Chicago police, the Illinois State's attorney, and the FBI. And again, we can get into it afterwards. Like, it was just a lot of stuff. Well, his last words to my mom before he left from our hometown in Peoria, Illinois, and went to Chicago, Illinois, was, I have to do this for them. My mom had dreamed that he had passed away. He had gotten killed, and she begged him not to go. And he said he had to. It was very important. The movement was very important. And he pointed to me, and I was one of his reasons. And so when I got into college, she shared that story with me, and I switched my profession from medical to education. And I have been an educator ever since. And my first year teaching, I wrote Panther in the Sky. It was in 1993. Actually, I started it and had my own manuscript in 1994. My manuscript got messed up. Life happened. I kind of put it to the side. And 2 years ago, I pulled it back out, dusted it off after my star motivated me. And since then, I have been going around trying to teach children their legacy and using this book as a part of it.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. This book is just so important, and you guys are gonna. It's a wonderful tool to teach the accurate history, because some of us as adults don't even know the accurate history about the Black Panther Party and how so many of their contributions are interwoven into our daily society today. And so, if you know about them based off of what other people are telling you or villainizing about them, it's important to go back and learn more about it. So this is great. And your mom, that was your mom who left the comment. Who said Mark's sister. So she is Mark Clark's sister. Yes. And so this wonderful piece of history that you are about to read, your touch on history and your family's direct connect. I'm just going to close my mouth and step away, and everybody enjoy this treat.
Well, before you do that, Star, I do want to tag back to that. One of the reasons why my mom chimed in is at this time, we know what's going on across the country. And even though, again, my uncle, this was in 1969 that he was assassinated. We're 50 plus years later, and we're still having issues with our young men and our young boys being treated and villainized. And so it's very, very important. Every time we see one of those stories as a family, we grieve with other families, because we know, my grandmother went through 13 years before she could see a little partial piece of justice. Never justice, because they were never charged, but her little piece of justice finally came, but 13 years later. So we're still there. We're still fighting. And so tonight I want to dedicate this on behalf of all of our fallen, beautiful kings, awesome kings that have gone just because of the sadness of what our country still allows and permits.
I'm just gonna let you read, and then we'll talk about it after. I'm filled up, so we're gonna step away and let you do your thing, sis.
All right. All right, so as I said, we have the book Panther in the Sky. And it is written by me, and it was actually illustrated by two of my former students, and it's illustrated by Caleb Price. When I wrote the book back in 1994, and I had my little teacher-made manuscript, I kind of did the illustrations and everything. Well, one of my students from back then, as she grew up and became a man, and he illustrated the illustrations in here for me. Well, he teamed with someone else to help him, and that person's name, Caleb Price was my original person that I went to, and then Michael Martinez joined him, and they teamed together to finish the illustrations. Caleb had no idea that I worked at the school where Michael was a student. I was the principal, the district principal for the elementary and the high school, and Michael was in high school at the time that I was there. So both of them were former students, and so this all came full circle. And we happen to have my daughter with me tonight. Her name is Imani Ebony, and how fitting her name was, because we have to go through all that. It was some prophetic things that happened in her life just because I named her how I named her. So anyways, Imani means faith. I was pregnant with her when I started writing the book, when I first started teaching. And so she's the character in the book. So she's going to help me read tonight. So we hope you enjoy. Panther in the Sky. Ebony was so excited. It was her first day of school. She had been looking forward to this day all summer.
Ebony eagerly grabbed her mother's hand as they stepped off the porch, and she said, "Mom, tell me Uncle's story again."
Ebony's mom replied, "Sure, but let's get you in your seatbelt first." Ebony's mom snapped the seatbelt in place. Then, in her Big Mama storytelling voice, she began telling the story of Uncle. The Panther in the Sky could be seen all the way down MacArthur Highway. I knew I was getting close to the building. I was always excited when I saw the yellow eyes of the Black Panther. Soon I would be helping pass out the free breakfast to the children. I loved giving out the food with Uncle. The smell of food would fill the entire room.
"More," Ebony bellowed.
"All right, I'm telling the story," Mom quickly explained. I would help Uncle give out the hot breakfast to all the neighborhood children. Before they started their walk to school, he knew if children were hungry, they could not learn in school. Uncle and the Black Panther Party worked hard to teach the children in the neighborhood about how important it was to know Black history. They taught things they didn't teach at school. They also taught them how to read and do math. Uncle was so smart. I loved when he walked me to the headquarters. I knew it would be an exciting day.
Ebony cut Mom off. "Mommy, get to the good part."
Mom finished telling the story. Uncle picked me up and gently set me on the counter. He told me about how strong, intelligent, and beautiful we are as Black people. His face beamed with pride as he raised his fist in the Black Power salute, saying, "All power to the people." He told me that he and the Black Panther Party had a war on poverty. Uncle always explained the big words to me. He knew I loved big words. I like to use them to impress people. He would explain that a war is when you fight against someone who is against you. And then he'd go on and tell me that poverty was when you don't have the things you need to survive. That's why we fed the children a hot breakfast before going to school. He would often say with a serious look in his eyes. "I was a lot like you, Ebony," Mom delightfully exclaimed. "I would be so excited. I would ask questions while he talked. Lots and lots and lots of questions. He was my hero. He was always generous to me. Uncle loved children. Uncle was an amazing leader. He was a civil rights activist. That meant he loved helping people in the community and making it a better place to live, work, play, and buy goods and services. He was learning from other activists in other cities. The Black Panthers passed out free food and clothes across the country. They helped the elderly and they helped the community get medical care.
Free clothes? Why? Ebony questioned.
Ebony, we're almost at school, so let me finish the story, Mom whispered to her, peeking in the rearview mirror. She continued, they gave out free clothes because everyone wasn't as blessed as you. They couldn't afford to go to the store and buy new clothes. Many of the people lived in poverty.
Ebony chimed in. Okay. I remember you said poverty is when you don't have enough money to survive.
Many people did not have money for food, clothes, and medical care. So Uncle joined the Black Panther Party to help the community get the things they needed. The founders, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, started the Black Panther Party for self-defense with 10 points.
Ebony asked, what were the 10 points?
Mom answered, well, they had 10 points to tell the others what they wanted for the community. It's like your dad and I teaching you about civics. The 10 points are like your social contract at school. The Black Panthers wanted the government or people that make laws or rules to agree to do these 10 things. It was an agreement of behaviors. In unison, Ebony and Mom said, Ubuntu means I am because we are. Uncle used the 10 rules and started working in our community. He wanted everyone in Peoria to have a better life, and they worked very hard. Uncle loved working. One fall day, Uncle walked hand in hand with me, but he was different. I could tell. He was quiet, so I asked him what was wrong. He told me he was leaving our city and going to another city to do some work, bigger work. It made me so sad to hear this because I loved to walk with Uncle each morning and to listen to him talk about things he read in books. Uncle was an amazing man. Some people called him a civil rights activist. That meant he loved serving people in his neighborhood. That was my last walk with Uncle. He left to make a change. He believed he could help people, and he did. But soon after, Uncle was killed by some mean people that did not want him to help his people or get out of poverty or have a better life.
So he was killed like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers? Ebony asked. I'm so sorry, Mommy, Ebony sighed. Tell me the part about Uncle and me.
Mom replied, all right, Ebony, you know that you came from beautiful, smart, and strong people. Uncle loved you, even though he didn't meet you. He died so you and I could have a better life. So children like you could have a better life. I became a teacher to help intelligent children know how incredible they were created and that they could be anything they wanted to be.
And Mommy, I do. Thank you, Mommy, for buying me clothes and driving me to school. Ebony gratefully asked. Ebony jumped out of the car and grabbed her picture of Uncle. She smiled and kissed the picture. Thank you, Uncle, she whispered.
Ebony and Mom walked into the school. Ebony looked up at the beautiful blue sky, imagining herself walking with Uncle, just as her mom did. I want to show that picture. Just as her mom did many, many years ago. And you see Uncle is in a gray silhouette, like his spirit is there with them.
In the hallway, Ebony said to Mom, when I eat the school breakfast today, I will remember Uncle. I will let others know about the Black Panthers free breakfast program and the 10 rules. And when I grow up, I will be like Uncle. I will help my community just like he did. Ubuntu, Mommy.
Mom walked down the long hallway, leaving Ebony at the cafeteria. She heard Ebony turn around and shout,
Power to the people.
Mom said back, all power to the people, baby girl. Then with a big proud smile, Mom threw up her fist, just as Uncle would have done. And then in the back of the book, I have notes for the teachers, parents, and students. And it teaches about the actual free breakfast program. So the free breakfast program was actually started over 60 years ago, but it hadn't been implemented and it hadn't been happening all across the country. So the Black Panthers decided that they were going to make sure that children ate breakfast before they went to school. They knew that it would make a difference in their academic success, and it did. And so tens of thousands of children were fed every day because of the Black Panthers' efforts. Eventually, the USDA picked it up and it became a federal program, but the Black Panthers have never gotten the credit for doing that. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted to write the book, and I wanted to share with our children all across, for them to understand and know the Black Panthers were really great. And there's still Black Panthers that are involved in everything in across our communities still today. But the original Black Panthers had so many programs for our communities because they wanted our communities to survive. And I want children to know that. So thank my daughter. I almost cried. This is our first time reading it together. She lives in Ohio. And when I got to the part where she said that she would help and do what Uncle did, she does. She does a lot of work. She does a lot of mentoring younger people. She graduated as a valedictorian from Wilberforce University. She went on to Wake Forest with a full fellowship. What was it, 75,000? I always tell you the number wrong. What was it? Oh, you want to tell? Okay, she don't want to tell. But anyways, she was blessed, and now she's giving back to other people. And so I just want all of our young people to know the sky is the limit of what you can do.
Wow. Well, that was wonderful. Everything about that was great. Thank you so much, Bridget and Imani. There's so much to unpack here. But first of all, let's just start with how wonderful that is. Like, everybody who was in tune to this, I know you guys are full up off of the story, off of the aesthetics of mother and daughter reading together. And then the fact that Mom wrote the book, and it's written from the perspective of her daughter, and it's a real piece of our history. This is a lot, Bridget. This is just a lot for me to take in right now. Where do I start? Because I don't want to take up. I've had some people tell me I can be a talker, but I'm getting ready to run through these things. Okay. So first of all, I'll say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power to the people. And that is such a powerful phrase. And having you here, when you shared with me that Mark Clark was your uncle, a very important thing about this to me is the fact that we tend to romanticize things in history a lot of times. And when it comes to the Panthers, we think about the berets and the jackets and the guns and the slogan and how, sexy of a look that was, the movement, you know, the look of it, but it was real. Like this really happened. You know,
Yes.
having someone here where this is your uncle to make people realize this is a real piece of history that people gave their lives for, the changes, for the strides, for the things, the struggle that we still are inheriting and that we have to do our part in today. Like this is Bridget Jackson. She lost her uncle as a Black Panther in the fight for liberation for our people over 50 years ago, which is not a long time in the scheme of like people are still alive who were there then. So this is important for us to connect this in that way. And I appreciate you writing that story because a lot of times people want to be like, oh, this happened a long time ago or that happened a long time ago. People are alive. You met your uncle, right? You were little, but you met him.
I don't remember him, but my mom kept that story in my head. I was one of the first of the second generation. So my mother, it was 18 of them. And so it was 17 of them that grew into adulthood, and then their children start coming. So I'm one of the older ones of those. And so my uncle didn't have any children. So I guess I was kind of like his baby. But I was everybody's baby because, you know, some of them hadn't had children yet. But I don't. They just always tell me about how spoiled I was, and you know, I was a mess. And then
you are wonderful. You are wonderful. And again, you know, this just says how new we are in the struggle of liberation. When people want to say, well, why don't Black people have it together? And why don't we, like, this was just a little over 50 years ago. Just a little over 50 years ago, which means that people are very much alive during that time. Your uncle could very well have been alive had his life not been taken from him for fighting for liberation. So this is a very good connector. And if you have young children, I think this is a great starting point to have the conversation and even for you to brush up on things that you may not know about our history as an adult. So I think that is great. The free breakfast program, you touched on that and what all they had to do to organize it. And they were young. Let's talk about the fact that they were young. Okay. Some of them were teen years old and then in their early 20s. And I think the oldest were like in their mid to late 20s. So they were young, stepping out, doing revolutionary things that cost some of them their lives, and the lengths that the government went to try to stop the things that they were doing. This is just an important story. And then, as you pointed out, we're still having to deal with these things today.
Yes.
So it is up to us to take on the mantle, pick up that baton and move on and make sure that we are still fighting for liberation today and that our children are aware of what those in front of us did. And that's why this particular book is so just so important. Yes.
But one of the things, Sarah, that's very important that you magnify with your nonprofit with Clever Communities is the importance of literacy. And that was so very important to them. You know, you had to read, I'm sorry, my phone going off. You had to read, it was required. You know, if you were going to have a leadership role, they had to read 2 hours per night, mandatory. You know, it wasn't, and as you said, they were young. We're talking about many of them teenagers. You know, my uncle, again, he just hit his prime of his life in the middle of his 20s. And for those that don't know the story, he was assassinated in Chicago, Illinois with Fred Hampton. And so the 2 of them were killed. And then there were others in the home that were wounded and injured. And then the police had the audacity to take them to jail. You know, and so it was something. So it's really good history to know, because again, we're not that far removed from it. As I said, we're still, you know, look at Ahmad's mom right now, grieving and going through. Her son can't run or jog down a street. You know, it's just a crying shame that we are still here fighting for some of those same rights 50 years ago. You know, and I'm saying 50, that's since my uncle was assassinated, but we know that it's been going a lot longer than that. And so it's very important for us to know our history, our heritage, our children to know their legacy, because when you know who you are, no one can bring you anything else, but also you go to your true destiny because you know who you are. And that's what I was trying to say about, you know, Imani. I came into, you know, myself, you know, when I had her, I had just became a teacher. And I named her Ebony because I wanted that Afrocentric thing. And even with that, she was in the Ebony magazine, you know, and she spoke it. When she was a little girl, she was about 6 years old. She loved reading the Ebony magazine. And she says, I'm going to be in the Ebony magazine. And so when she turned about 9, I started buying her Ebonies every year. And then when she came old enough to buy her own, she started buying her own. And in 2016 issue of Ebony, September, the HBCU Queens, she's in there. So I want to speak to the parents tonight. You start claiming your children's destiny. We speak it. We prophesy into their lives by our words. And it's so very important. So that's what this book really started out as. Now it'll just come full circle, and it's just been beautiful. And one of the things that I'm trying to do in Flint is get our young people. I'm trying to help some of them author their own books. Those that want to illustrating books, and they can start now. They don't have to wait until they're grown. And that's the part that I say, I'm in my 50s now, and I'm doing the love that I wanted to do in my 20s because I just kind of let life go through. And so I want them to know to do that. And so, Star, I appreciate you, this platform. I appreciate the infamous emphasis on literacy. Very important for us right now.
You just said a whole word, sis. And we are so proud of you, Imani. And, you know, and Bridget, you're so giving. Like, nothing stays in your hand or your heart long. If it's given to you, this lady is always like, if you pour in her cup, she is like, and I got to pour in some more cups here. If she gets knowledge of something, she's like, and how can I spread this knowledge to other people? And you are so valuable for us to have in our community. Just a jewel. You and I were talking, you know, everything happened the way that it was supposed to happen for us to get to know each other. That is our little, you know, inside thing right there. But as far as when Clever Communities came to Flint, the third time, that was wonderful that we ended up at Eagles Nest Academy because great things have happened as a result of that. And, you know, again, we're still dealing with inequities today. And for all of us, like you said, first things first, in our own home, with our children or whomever is the most immediate around us, imparting that knowledge into them and that sense of duty that they have as members of this community, and making sure that we as villagers of this community pour love into them, because where love comes from, that's where respect and duty goes. If the community feeds you and builds you up, then if you go out and you become successful, you want to pour back into that community. So we must make sure that we are training up the children and feeding them and sowing love into them in that way, so that they will want to come back and sow into our village. And, you know, just living the impactful lives, like you said, and we all have to make sure that we do our part. So in the case of Ahmad, like you said, making those phone calls that need to be made, but doing the things to apply the pressure where it needs to be applied, but also making sure that all the time we as Black people are instilling value into one another, that we live a life every day about loving ourselves, loving each other, showing up for each other, and doing all the work that it takes to make our community thrive. So I could go on and on about this book, this particular book, because the Black Panthers, people who have really engaged in conversation with me and know my career path and different things that I have done, the Panthers are a huge, huge influence to me. That 10-point platform that you brought up, just so many things about them that are, it's like we need a 2050 version of, you know, they understood an agenda. They understood getting out there and making things happen. I see a problem. I'm going to step up there and do what I have to do to change it. So before I just run on and wax poetic about my beloved Black Panthers, so much thanks to you, to your uncle, to your mom for tuning in and chiming in everything that she's saying right now. And the biggest question that everybody wants to know is, where can they buy Panther in the Sky?
Well, Panther in the Sky is available on my website. I have my own printing company, and it's called Ubuntu Press, UBUNTUPRESS. And my website is ubuntupress.org. You can go on there and buy it, as well as available on Amazon. But if you go through the Ubuntu Press, it's directly mailed out from my business, and you can get a autographed signed copy. Again, I'm trying to get them in schools. And so we've been doing things, as Star said, I've been giving away. And so I do, because I do want our children to really, really know. And so if you know of someone that needs that, please let me know so we can connect with some of these schools and connect with some of these families so that we can get those in their hands. It's very important for us to know. And Panther in the Sky is not the only one. We have culturally affirming curriculum and books.
Yes, and you said if we know somebody who needs it, everybody needs it. And you can make sure, you know, she will give everything away, but let's support the people who put in the work and fill in the gaps where it needs to be filled. There is no other book like that. So if you are able to purchase this book, then make sure you purchase the book from her. Like she is filling in a gap here. One of our influencers, Kalia, just said, I'm so glad this is a high school student that this topic was brought up. This is something that is just brushed over in school. So this sister right here is filling in a gap at a young age, but I think it's relatable on up to adulthood. So let's support her. Let's support, you know, if it's a situation in which you need the book donated and she just offered that, that's fine. But we want to support the people, support people who are providing that work, writing those books. So yes, thank you, sis. Thank you.
It's the important thing that people can do. A lot of times people think, you know, we want people to purchase the book, but most important, again, getting that message out there. So share, you know, again, share. If people can't get the book, at least share so that we start opening up the other people's understandings and knowledge. Because when you know it, you can't ignore it anymore.
But I'm saying buy it.
Yeah, we can buy it.
She didn't say it. I said it. It costs money to make it. So I said buy it. It's not expensive. And we know how valuable it is for our young people's development. I'm not saying that because I know her. She's my friend. Like when I first read this book, I knew about it and you sent it to me and I had been really, really busy. And then one night I sat down and read it and I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm just now reading. Like all I'm thinking about is I want to get this book out to every school, every child. So it's worth the purchase. It definitely is. So I'm not gonna hold you guys up any longer. Like I said, I could go on and on and on about this topic, but thank you so much. You guys know you are already. Well, no, I have to initiate your daughter. I have to initiate your daughter. There's initiation going on right now. So Amani, you are officially a part of our literacy gang. This is a gang that's founded on a love of literacy, literature, culture, community, and just love and support overall. So you are in this gang. You cannot escape this gang. You are going to get this love. And anytime you want to come back on here as a reader or in the comments, you are welcome. Okay.
Thank you. I mean, that aligns with one of my goals. So one of my goals for 2020 is to complete 26 books by the end of the year. So this aligns so well with that. But thank you.
Thanks.
You are welcome. And Shania says, welcome to the literacy gang. She's one of our young readers. She is 10 years young and reads like she is 35. Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. Y'all have a wonderful evening. And I look forward to seeing you back a little later this week, Bridget, with another surprise for us.
Yes. All righty, Star. Looking forward to seeing my virtual village. I want to see what's coming next. He gonna give us some knowledge.
Yes, he is. He is. All right, then. Well, y'all have a good evening.
All righty, you too. Bye-bye.
That was wonderful. If you all like what you're seeing here, make sure that you give us a share so that other people can be aware of this programming. It is wonderful having someone like Bridget and all of our readers come up here to read books, whether it's original works that they wrote or books by other authors, but it's all around this cultural theme. And we know that representation matters and it keeps coming up more and more and more than ever. So being able to come to a space where you learn about this history, you learn this culture, and where there are friendly people around who we just build each other up. But that was a word and that was a lesson that people needed to hear. I want to come back before we go into this wonderful next person who we can have. I want to address this comment. We have Regina Walden who said she's glad to be here. This is her second episode. I'm so impressed last week that I had my children joining me today. I'm a newly published author, and my daughter is working on her first book as well. Welcome. Welcome, Regina, to you and your daughter and your children. We are so glad to have you here. There is a sign-up sheet on the Clever Communities in Action Facebook page. It's pinned at the top. So you are welcome to click that sign-up sheet and you all come on here and read. We would love, love, love to have you. Again, make sure you are sharing so that other people can be aware of this. Now, moving on to our next guest here. If you guys have been tuning in every day, then you know we have some Virtual Village influencers coming on. They're coming Wednesday. We introduced them last Wednesday, and they are interns. They are doing a virtual internship, and they are teens, high school students from around Hampton Roads. And boy, are they heavy hitters. Do they have a lot of wonderful things to offer and great things that they're already doing, talking about impactful lives at only teen years young. So we have one of our influencers. He jumped ahead of their own debut for Wednesday, and he is coming up here to read some of his original works tonight. So without any more hesitation, because you know your girl can run her mouth, we are going to bring up here our wonderful, phenomenal Mr. Jameer Starks.
How you doing? It's great to be here, man. How you doing, Ms. Star? How you doing, everybody?
I am doing well. So glad to have you up here. This is wonderful. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little nervous, not even gonna lie, but I'm happy to be here as well, you know, and I'm just hearing that beautiful word from Miss Jackson and her daughter. It just really does something to the spirit, you know, like eyes a little watery, you know, but
so you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn. I keep these our villagers. That's what they do. That's what they do. So you guys might want to make sure that you got some Kleenex you, because there's some phenomenal people who come up here. So yes, I don't be nervous, because everybody is here to support you. We are excited about having you here, and just give us a little brief background about yourself, because you're gonna really get to go into it on Wednesday. But tell us some things about who you are and why that previous story was so touching to you, because it ties into you and your interests.
Yes, ma'am. So like I said, I'm Jameer. I'm a senior at Great Bridge High School, and I'll be attending the illustrious Howard University in the fall, studying legal communications on the pre-law track. And one of my passions is typically just Black history and Black people as a whole, because the history of us is truly beautiful, and it brings you to tears sometimes, but it also makes you smile, because you just see that we are very resilient people with deep roots. Even though we have been uprooted in some cases, we just doubled back down and we grew one of the most beautiful trees from sponsoring the greatest seeds ever. And Miss Jackson's comments and her whole Panther in the Sky, and just seeing how relevant the history was, because she said that was 50 years ago, and everything is very recent with us. And to see the tragedy of Mark Jackson, but also the beauty in the work that he did. And that's really what sort of drives me, because you see like all of the Panthers and some of the greatest civil rights activists, they all young, like early 20s in the teens, making sure that progress is something that's easier to obtain for the next generation. So that's what really touched me, because that's the standard. And that should always be the standard, is to always give back to your community, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, but always to give back and to pour into the people, and just make sure that everything will be everything, you know? So that's why that really touched me, because I truly love Black people. I love being Black. I love everything about us.
I don't even need to be here. You're taking my job, and that's what's supposed to happen. I mean, I might as well just, you know what, y'all, I'm just going to go in and let Jameer do the rest of this. No, I'm going to stay this time, but you are wonderful. Everything that you just said, this is all the things that we need to hear right now and forever. Shout out to the young people tuning in right now. I see a lot. You've gotten a lot of comments here, people showing you love, and we are so glad to see our youth tuning into this program, our influencers and their friends and their social network. Much love to you all. We're definitely glad to see you. So, Jameer, what will you be reading for us tonight?
Today, I'll be reading an essay that I submitted on Black History Month. I submitted it to Congressman McEachin, and right now it's in the Library of Congress. I submitted it a couple months ago for the past February. And it was just a simple contest that my teacher had let me know about. And I decided to throw my hat there in the ring. And I ended up winning for the high school competition as well. So I was the only winner for high school. And it was just it was great. And so that's what I'll be reading today, is just my elaboration on what Black History Month means to me.
Excellent. Well, we can't wait to hear it. So with that, are you ready? Are you good?
I'm born ready.
Hey, all right. Well, I'm going to step away and let you do your thing. All right, y'all. Get ready.
So I have a penchant to read a little fast, so I'll slow it down for y'all. So Black History Month was an extension upon Negro History Week, which was created in 1926 by notable historian Carter G. Woodson. President Gerald Ford recognized February as the designated month for the celebration of Black people in 1976. Nearly 6 years shy of the centennial anniversary of Black History Week and the semi-centennial anniversary of Black History Month, the goals of both Carter G. Woodson and Gerald Ford have been accomplished to an extent. I say all this because for 28 or 29 days out of the year, there is a new depth added to the Black experience within America. There is a common misconception among many that Black History Month is in February because it is the shortest month. When I was younger, I was one of the many. This led me to do my own research when I saw someone make this claim, and I found the true history of the month. This month was chosen to honor Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, more commonly known as Frederick Douglass, and President Abraham Lincoln. This began my delve into the rich history and culture of Black Americans. My ignorance had developed into an insatiable thirst for the knowledge of my people. Understanding, analyzing, and researching Black history is not something that I do for the second month of the year, only to wait another 11 months before I repeat the cycle. It is the month of February that is used to spread what I have learned throughout my life in order to instill a sense of pride and admiration within my fellow Black Americans. The last few Februaries, I have shared whatever trinket of knowledge that I have collected over the course of the year, with the fact regarding a certain historical figure or even event pertaining to Black or African history for each day. This year, I've taken to sharing and learning with my potential classmates who will be attending Howard University, HU, in the upcoming fall of 2020. This has been beneficial because the ideals of community are placed on full display by this continuous exchange of information, because each fact is more gratifying than the last. Along with the sense of community that is established through the exchange of information and knowledge, there is the joy that comes from Black enterprise. Social media has made connecting with others the easiest it has ever been in human history. This allows for Black-owned businesses to reach consumers across the globe. Black entrepreneurs and other enterprising individuals have used platforms like Twitter to expand their brands and network with other businesses. In February, there is an explosion of Black enterprise with a myriad of products being placed on sale. This further strengthens the idea of community because investing in the business of another Black American allows for one to help aid in the quest to establish Black wealth or at least financial security. This also sparks immense joy because supporting Black-owned businesses fills me with a deep sense of pride. I enjoy Black History Month because it has been the setting that has taught me about the history of Black enterprise. I enjoy Black History Month in the 21st century because I am able to participate in Black enterprise efficiently and effectively. Black History Month also opens up the doors of Hampton Roads. Hampton Roads is in a region with many historical Black locations, from Hampton down to Suffolk. Luckily for me, I'm able to visit these cities and attend the events that they are planning to host. I love the ability to share a laugh and create a memory with my family as we adventure out into Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, Newport News, or even Chesapeake. There is never a shortage of things to do to honor, celebrate, recognize, or appreciate one's heritage during February. And for that, I am truly grateful because it is vital that Black people of all ages and walks of life are able to love themselves and love one another. The main joy that comes to me during Black History Month is the feeling of community that accompanies the month. I am truly able to be around friends and family and enjoy their presence. During the month of February, Black people are energized and their communities give them the chance to appreciate their backgrounds. This month is more than a few names from a history textbook, but is essential to reaffirming the idea that blackness is not only acceptable, but also beautiful. Thank you.
Wow. All right, everybody. Let's give Jameer a hand. That was wonderful. Where do I start? I took some notes here. First of all, let's remind everyone, how old are you again?
I'm 17.
Okay, because see, people just tuning in might be like, oh, who's this young gentleman? Thinking that, you're like 17. Y'all heard that? That's 17. And this is one of Clever Communities in Action's virtual village influences right here. Hey, okay. So we have Crystal said, yes, go young man. You make us so proud. Let me see. Tadiwa, I hope I'm saying that correctly.
That's one of my ancient friends.
Okay, wonderful. And Solomon, you're getting a bunch of hand claps here. Everybody is giving you a hand. I can't even get through all these comments so fast, but you see it. Thanks so much for the love. We are so glad that you guys are tuning in. Let me see. Eric says, agreed. Blackness is acceptable and beautiful. Great job, Young King. Regina says, amazing. Tiffany says, amazing. It was definitely amazing. So you said an insatiable thirst for the knowledge of your people.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
Well, like the insatiable thirst definitely comes from the fact that I grew up in the rural South. So there's always been that like inkling of like where my history is, because I'm from Crescent, South Carolina. So like my grandmama's house, they right next to cotton fields. So it's very in your face that like subjugation and slavery is a part of my history. So from that baseline there, I take it a step further, and I wanted to understand just exactly, well, slavery doesn't define us. So what exactly is my history? What is our history? So that insatiable thirst comes from the fact of just learning about different aspects of us. And when I mean Black history, I'm not just talking about Black people in America. I'm going all the way back to West Africa, like the Ivory Coast, down to the Congo, down to South Africa. And I'm talking about my brothers and sisters in the islands as well. All of it interconnects. All of it is Black to us. All of it is essential. And you can learn a lot from it. And from that, like I'm starting a book club with my friends who I was going to Howard, Blake and Solomon. And they had me reading some things from Mr. Julius Nyerere. And it was the Ujamaa. And that right there was basically a system on how like African socialism in a way. And it basically shows you like the context of how community and sharing and work does play into Black people. And it's not just, it's ingrained into us to want to give back to one another. And it's ingrained into us to do the work that goes into it. So that insatiable thirst comes from the fact that when they tell you that like Black people, when we do like Black History Month, it's typically the same names, like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and then they might throw in Malcolm X. But when you go under the surface, you find out about the Black Panthers and Huey Newton, and you find out about like Elijah Muhammad and James Baldwin and Miss Toni Morrison. You hear about the Frederick Douglasses and the Phyllis Wheatleys and like all of the heavy hitters from Black history. It really just shows you that it's the tip of the iceberg that they don't even want you to know about. So you got to go and you got to get it yourself. And that's truly like one of the most, that's the main driver about me, is because like, it's never enough. It's never enough. There's always something to learn. It's always something to learn.
I agree. And so what advice would you give to your peers? Because as Kalia has acknowledged, these things are either brushed through, they're just barely touched on the surface in school, or they're not talked about at all, or they are just misconstrued. If it is brought up a lot of times, I remember in college, I had a professor to compare the Black Panthers to the KKK. This was actually in school that happened. And I was like, hold up, wait a minute. But so tell me, what advice do you have for your peers or for anyone who wants to, who that insatiable knowledge is starting to ignite within them, and they don't know where to start?
Well, I would say where to start, just basically look up anything on the internet. But before that, you have to understand that knowledge is very self-motivated. like you're not gonna find anything in a history textbook about like how great Black people truly are, because history is written by people who don't really care for us that much. So it's very self-motivated when it comes to finding out. And it really just, when you look for what you want, look for your passions to start you. Because like for me, I like Black history in general. So one day I'll just look up Black literature, or I'll look up Black filmmakers, or I'll look up like Black historians or Black leaders or Black warlords, you know, Black chieftains. But it's really just where to start would be find out what you want to know, because the expanse of knowledge that is out there, it'll be intimidating to an extent, but you have to become self-disciplined. And like Ms. Jackson said, the Panthers had to read 2 hours a night mandatory. Discipline is knowledge. So if you want to explore Black history and you want to dabble into it, that's fine. But if you want to engulf yourself into it, you're going to need discipline, because that's really what it is. And especially when you have to unlearn a lot was put on us, so you can relearn the true meaning of what it's like to be Black and how powerful you really are. It's really the discipline that you need. And I say you can start anywhere, because Black people got our hands in every aspect of this earth. And it's all the information is out there. You just got to dig a little bit deeper than what they want you to.
Agree. That was wonderful. You said knowledge is discipline. That's a word that is so important when it comes to learning about our history and culture. And I think having a strong foundation in that is essential. And it's something that when you have that foundation, it makes you want to go out and be the change. It makes you want to, whatever your lane may be. You know, there's a lot that's going on out here. There's a lot that needs to be changed. But you should know what your lane is and what your aspect is to contributing and definitely raising up younger people behind you to take that baton. This is, let me see. I'm going to grab these comments. Portia says, Jameer, you got to get it yourself, our history and knowledge. Eric says, you are a very deep young man. Continue to soar, brother. And that is cute, father. Crystal said, another whole word. Woo, I can't take it. All the hearts. And then Miss Jackson says, say it. We are powerful and discipline is necessary. Hashtag. Yep. So that's a whole word. And then you said, well, here's another one. Portia says, unlearn to relearn. I know that's right. And that is essential. That is essential in this. There are a lot of things that we have been taught that we have to deconstruct and reconstruct our minds. A lot of the things that you learn in traditional school settings, it's not the truth. So, and like you said, Jameer, it can be intimidating or daunting to people at times, but we have a responsibility. And just as when Bridget was up here reading about her uncle who was assassinated along with Fred Hampton, people gave their lives. People gave their lives. So you do have a responsibility, because everything that you do today, you have a responsibility to those people who gave their lives or put their lives in danger for us to be here. And I just can't stress enough, we grab that baton and we're supposed to move it further. And then the last thing I'll touch on that you said is that we should be able to love ourselves and to love each other. And a lot of the untruths that we have to unmask and unlearn are things that hinder us from loving ourselves and loving each other. Because if you know, people may be like, what's the point of talking about Black history or all this Black love or Black? Because there were a lot of things that were done to make us not love ourselves. And we can understand with an individual, the damage that is there if you don't love yourself. We know that as an individual. We understand the damage if you don't know who you are. A lot of times if people don't know who they're like a parent or and they search and there's an emptiness within them, and sometimes they act out. It causes other things within their behavior. So think about this as a collective, as a whole people. If we've been taught that our skin is inferior, that our hair texture, or that our intellectual ability or anything about us, and so we have to overcome those things. And it is very important that we had to do work to overcome those things, because those were not the messages that were put out in society. So I appreciate you for writing that piece. I appreciate you for sharing it with us. I am so proud of you. I thank you for coming up here and elaborating and sharing your thoughts on it. You are the person that everybody wants to hear from. So I'm going to ask you, is there anything else before we close out for the night? Anything that's on your mind right now in this moment that you want to share?
Okay, I got you. So this was a while ago, and it was what exactly blackness was, because there was this concept of, well, black couldn't exist without white. So without white people dehumanizing us and taking away our tribal heritage in Africa and placing on us a color of black, we were a very reactionary people in America. So everything that was placed on us was never self-driven. The existence of black people and black itself and the subjugation we had to endure was very reactionary. But the thing about it is, the reaction wasn't negative, because from slavery, not only did we get some of the greatest sounds in the blues and gospel, which would later grow into rock and roll and jazz and what we get hip hop now, but we also got that resilience in everyone. And our reaction to the racism, to the prejudice, to the subjugation, to the hate, is that we continue to move forward. And there's always progress. And the growth of Black people in America in the past 400 years has truly been spectacular, because we don't know our history. Many of us don't know our history. And so for a whole people to make their own lane in a foreign land and to become one of the most influential beings on this earth is truly something to marvel at. So what I would say to everyone out there is that when you open up your eyes in the morning and you smile because you're Black, understand that you are the continued legacy of those who came before us, because we indeed stand on giants in many advents and avenues of life. So that will be my message and my parting words here tonight.
Excellent. That is wonderful. So we'll go back here in case you guys, when you hear our theme song, our song lyrics, Next Generation Manifestation, so reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. Okay, so you are a manifestation of that. And Regina said he is something. So you are making everybody proud. And I see we had a little commenter on here, somebody who I guess they got rubbed the wrong way. And the thing that I would say to that, it's interesting to me when people tune into things that they don't like. Like if it's not for you, it's a lot of other things going on out here. I don't really put myself in places if I'm not willing to learn. I don't feel like that I can't learn things that I will learn as long as I am competent and cognizant and able to, then I will continue to learn. So if anyone asserts themselves where they feel like they can't learn anything from us and from this aspect of world and United States history, because this is a part of the history of the United States and the world. People try to relegate this. We are human beings who have influenced the world. So it is not just a sidebar of history. It is something about the world. So anybody who feels like that they are above this history or is not relatable to them, that is perfectly fine. And this is not the channel for you. It's not the channel for you. If you want to learn and if you understand that the importance of history and learning about other people beside yourself, then you're welcome here. You are welcome here. But if it's not your cup of tea, then go sip somewhere where you like it. And with that said, thank you so much, Jameer. You are just a wonderful inspiration to us all. My goodness, I am just so excited about you and the other influencers and all that you all have to bring. What you guys are about to do with your lives and what you all are about to do with this internship. So we look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. You guys make sure that you tune in on Wednesday, because we'll tune in every night. But Wednesday night is Teen Takeover night. And Wednesday is the first night that our influencers are coming to take over and do all teen programming, where they are speaking from the perspective of our youth and what they want us to hear and what their peers want to hear. So all of the young people tuning in on Wednesday, I won't be here. Mr. Jordan won't be here. It is all teens that night. So y'all got it. Okay. So make sure you are here. and make your voices heard. And to the adults, make sure that you are here so that we can support them, because I won't be on the live, but I'm gonna be all up in the comment section. And I'm gonna grab these other comments here real quickly. Portia,
Portia, thank you.
She loves you. And
it's always love.
Miss Tiffany said, Jameer is feeding my soul. Let's see. Yaya says, others don't have to like it at all. Continue on unapologetically, because other groups represent with flags and everything proudly. So can we.
Yes,
I love y'all. Eric said he'll be watching. And let's see. Tiffany says she appreciates all of this. And oh yeah, y'all, we're not worried about that. Message was so thick tonight. The love up in here was thick tonight, and nothing can touch that. Anybody who tries to come somewhere and be an agitator, there's something lacking there. And there's no love lacking here, no information lacking here, no culture, no community lacking here. We are right. Our cup runneth over with love, with information, and sharing one another. And all who come in peace and positivity are welcome. And if you don't, like I said, there are other flavors for you to sip on. And with that said, thank you, family. Come back here every night and fellowship with us. The Literacy Gang meets every night, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Wednesday nights are teen takeovers. And if you have not done it already, make sure that you like the Clever Communities in Action Facebook page, subscribe to the Clever Communities in Action YouTube page, share so the word can get out of here. Love is in the air. Culture is in the air. All of the shades of brown are in the air. The locks and the head wrap is in the air. And the love from the comment section, ooh, it's a bright glare. So with that said, you guys, we are out and we can't wait to see you tomorrow. Y'all have a good evening. Peace.
Good to see y'all.
Look, mommy, community in action. But oh my, love the sound of that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. But oh my, love the sound of that. Creative, affirming, and culture for me too. Look, granny, I love the sound of that. Look, granny, I love the sound of that. Look, granny, I love the sound of that. Learning and exploring my history, you see. Look, mommy, I love the sound of that. We confident, we practice and develop fluency. Look, daddy, I love the sound of that. Families, they bonding, they representing me. Look, granny, I love the sound of that. Look, I'm here, love the sound of that. Nice, I see, love the sound of that.
So reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while we represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down where they have to sit. Who reliable, culturally relevant. Sit back and listen to the wisdom while you represent. So reliable, culturally relevant. Readers to leaders, they hold it down, yeah, they have a sit.
Look, mommy, community in action. Well, oh my, love the sound of that. Look, daddy, there's a book for me too. Well, oh my, love the sound of that. Creative, affirming, culture for me too. Look, granny, love the sound of that.